Alright, it's finally Friday and I'm finally going to get a start on this car stereo after months and months and months and months and months of putting it off and waiting for parts. Well, not parts, but pieces. I've finally got everything I need to get it done. Get the car up in the shed. Tell you what, the smallest little addition with the handbrake cover feels so much better. It's just chunkier to grab. Just feels nice in the hand rather than the normal plastic ones that I'm used to. It's nice and chunky. Feels good. A little. Alright, well, finally it's time to get all this into the car. It's Friday, just finished work. I've got quite a bit of the afternoon left, so it's nice and fine. So as you can see, I got a little bit here to get in. Some of this is new, some is old. Well, not old, but not brand new. I've bought it all new, but some of it has been used in another car. So I finally got this. This was the last piece of the puzzle, which I've been waiting for. I just couldn't get myself to buy one for the price, but I managed to get it pretty cheap. Well, reasonably cheap considering what they go for on eBay. And then I had a $100 voucher, which saved me quite a bit on that. So that was good. Got some sound deadener for at least the front two doors. I want to get those done at least, and hopefully enough for the parcel shelf as well. If not, I've got some spare rolls there, which my son said I could pinch one out of. There's plenty there. So yeah, I want to get that done in the doors firstly. That's my main priority. I've got some 6.5 inch mids and tweeters components for the fronts. Some coaxials, matching coaxials for the rear. Two 10-inch subs to go in the box, which I've had made. A friend of my son's is a cabinet maker, and he knocked that up for me, which is all made to the specs of the subs. But I had a bit of an issue. I worried more about the specs for the subs than fitting it into the car. So when I squeeze it in the back, it hits underneath the parcel shelf. So that may need to be touched up a little bit. That's why it's not carpeted or anything yet. But that'll be the last bit. I can always stuff with that once all this is installed. I've got a 5-channel ALPINE amp to run it all, and a new, it's a Android, just an Android stereo, which came with a reverse camera, which I'm not using because we've already put the reverse camera in the back, obviously, which is ready to go. Yeah, I went with the Android unit just because it was cheap, a lot cheaper than like your Pioneer, your brand name stereos, and it has a bit more functionality and a lot more. It's got like I think it's a 36 band equalizer with a built-in DSP, so I have a lot more control over the sound than your cheaper like Pioneer and Kenwood, all the name brand sort of units. So went with that. We'll run that, see how it goes. So yeah, first thing I'm going to start doing is probably getting the car on. I've got a little bit of this sound deadener stuff as well. I was just going to stick this in the doors behind the speakers. It's just like acoustic foam, cheap shit off eBay. See how it goes. Now I sort of planned out this setup before I started to buy things for it. I got everything sort of intentionally for a sort of setup that I was after. So these speakers are all rated 100 watts RMS at 4 ohm. They're 4 ohms obviously. So the amp that I got is a 100 watt by 4 at 4 ohms. So that'll power 100 watts at 4 ohms into each speaker, which is nice clean sound, because when you run at 4 ohms you get a bit more efficiency out of your amp. But this amp's pretty efficient anyway. It's pretty decent quality amplifier, this one. So it puts out 100 watts by 4 at 4 or 2 ohms, but I'm running 4 ohms to your speakers, and then it'll put out 500 watts RMS by 1 at 4 ohms as well. So I've gone and got two 250 watt subwoofers. They're focals or focals, whatever you want to call them, and they're dual 4 ohm voice coils in those. So I can wire the two dual 4 ohm voice coils down to a 4 ohm load. So they're two 250 watt subs, so they'll need 500 watts put into them, which is perfect because that's what this puts out. So but the berth sheet on the amp, so this amp actually puts out a bit more power than it's rated, just a little bit. I think it puts out like 560 watts RMS, something like that, so it should power those pretty well. And like I said, I've had the box built specifically for these subs, as far as the volume, so they should sound decent. I'm hoping I don't have to tweak the box too much to get it to fit, because I know it was made for them. But yeah, we'll have to worry about that when we get to it. But yeah, we'll get started on the car and start getting some of this in there finally. I think what I'll start to do is take off the scuff plates, take off the trim, the pillar trim and the seat belt out the bottom, and take that whole trim off the side, because I will need to get that off to run the power cable. So we'll start all that, and then I might get a start on the doors. I also got this Alpine bass remote control thing. I'm not sure if I'm going to run it. I've never used it, but I might chuck it in this car just for shits and giggles. Just gives me a bit more control over the bass, and I do listen to a different range of music, so it could be handy in there, I guess. I've never ran one, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I might chuck it in somewhere, find somewhere for it. And also, you also need these adapters, or if you can get some MDF ones made up or something. But factory speakers are 5x7s in the front doors and in the rear shelf. So if you want to run a good component speaker, you'll need some sort of adapter. I've got two sets of these. There's these ones here, and I've got a set in there as well. And I've put a stereo in a couple of these cars now. And when I was first looking into my first B series putting a stereo in, I didn't really have much information, and there wasn't really much online, anyone sort of telling you anything. So that's why I thought I'd film this, and I'll try and get in as much of the little details as I can. Some people might find it helpful. And I'm by no means a professional car stereo installer guy, or no professional automotive electrician. But I've got some basic knowledge, some basic tools, and that's all you need to have a decent system and a bit of common sense. It's good when you're doing this sort of shit, taking all the trims off, because it's a good chance to give it all a good clean in behind, because you get bits of poo like that. Yummy. Yummy. Well, made a start. I took off all the plastics which went up along the side here and cover the seat belt. I've seen a bit of crap underneath there. I've got to get this trim off. I hate pulling these off because they sometimes break. Oh, that one. Oh, it's come off all right. Clips aren't broken, so that's good. So they're just little tiny crossovers, but the tweeters themselves aren't the smallest. I've seen smaller tweeters, but this is the crossover, so they're just a little unit. And they've got a little setting there, so you can set the dB to them, because they're quite bright out of the box. They're very loud. They're too loud, actually. I set them to -3. You got a setting. You got 0 dB, plus 3 dB, or minus 3 dB. And I've had them on the 0 and the plus. They're plus from factory, I think. I set them to 0 in the last car, and then hopefully they were still too bright. So hopefully the -3 in this car, they'll be sweet. They sound really good, but they're just a little bit too bright. And here's the this off. They're the other adapters. So these adapters come with the with these speakers in the box. So that's a factory Alpine adapter. And the good thing with this one is it's a nice thin one. With the front doors, if you use a thicker one, I've run the Aerpro ones on the front door before, and it sort of fouled out on the door, the speaker did, which isn't ideal. So I ended up putting these factory ones in. I thought these would be shit because they're so thin, but it's sort of handy that they're thin because they fit behind the door perfectly. And they're not a very deep component. They're a funny, cheap looking plastic basket on them, but for what they are, they sound pretty good for the price. Now, I always hate taking the door cards off, especially for the first time, because these are so fragile. All it takes is to pull the door card off in the wrong sort of way and twist it, and these can crack and just be a pain in the ass. So it's a pretty delicate job when you're taking them off. Now, getting these off, there's only there's like 7 screws holding them in. You've got 4 around the edge of the door. There's one here, one here, one here, and one inside here that way. And it's just a T25 hex bit to get those out. You've got a screw behind this little cover here. Just pop that out with a little flathead screwdriver. I'll do that. Just give it a little twist. You don't have to go doing anything it's going to scratch anything. And then there's a screw there, so that's your normal Phillips screw. And then there's two under this trim. You just need a little hook or a little flathead screwdriver just to get into here. There's a little flat cutout on these somewhere. Where is it? At the top. Oh, don't want to scratch it. And just pop him out. I usually use that recessed bit. Where is it? Somewhere. That flat piece. I always put that at the top. And then once they're out, you've got to delicately get this off, this trim. And there's two more screws. One's down here and one's up here somewhere. And they're quite deep in there. They're a bit of a pain in the ass to get out. So I'll get these other three screws out and then we'll get this trim off. Now after doing a few of these, removing this trim, I've found the best way is to start from the top and just get something in. Instead of trying to dig in here where you can crack them and scuff up everything, you just start at the top. There's usually a bit of a gap here with a flathead screwdriver, just like that. And don't try and pry, just pull it straight towards you, just like that. And that's all you need. And then the rest is just pry it out with your hand, just very gently. It's just little plastic clips. Just work your way along until it pops off. Nice and gentle. And put it aside where you're not going to stand on it and snap it in half. So the two screws are still in there holding the armrest on, but we'll get this little screw out here and we'll remove the door handle. There's the screw and the little cap that covers it. Just put that aside. And then all the handle is, it slides back a little bit and then pops straight out towards you. Just like that. And all you do is you'll see there's a cable there, which is locked in by a little clip. All I do is just leave it on the door card like that, hook it behind the door card and just pull. And it just unclips it, and then you'll see there's just a wire which will just fall like a bike chain, or a bike brake cable. It'll just come out of there, just like that. Oh, took a screenshot. That's it, pretty easy. So that door card's all ready to come off now, except for the two last screws. There's two more screws in the actual armrest itself. So there's one in here and one in here. This one in here is a bit of a pain in the ass because it's quite deep in there. And if they are the hex screws, which I've just checked, these ones still are the factory ones. They can be a bit of a pain to get to if you don't have an extension or something like that. So, and now comes the cringy part, especially if you've got decent door cards that you don't want to break. If they've been on the car and haven't come off, they can be quite stuck on there pretty well. Don't worry about taking out the window switch just yet, or the side mirror switch. Just leave that on there. So all it is now, they're just pinned into the door. There's multiple pins all around the outside and along the top. So it's just got to pull off, but you just want to do it gently. You don't want to crack it. And like I said, you don't want to twist the card and compromise the armrest if it's a good one. All I normally do is use one of these. You could use a screwdriver if you really want to, if you've got nothing else, but just because this is plastic, and I just get it down in this corner. I only use it because it's a right angle, and just pull it, and you hear that first pop, you hear the first clip come undone, there, and that's all you really need. Then you can just run your fingers along and pop each other one off as you go. I'll put the camera down and do it because I don't want to damage anything. But yeah, still pop that one off, and then I just ran this underneath, pop, and pop there again, and it's just all flappy now. This is the point where you don't want to damage it, because along the top can be hard to get out. And they don't lift up over this channel like the old Falcons used to. They just literally pull straight towards you. But it's sometimes the clips can be really well held in there, like that one. So just really gentle getting it off. Just grab it where you can, and just try and pry it really gently away from the door without putting too much stress on the armrest, because they do break really easily. All I've done here is just grab this part here with my hand, pushed against there with my thumb, and I had this hand in here at the same time and pushed against the glass and just popped this corner off. That popped off, so now it's basically off, just hanging by a couple of clips here. So I'll get that off, hold it, and then what I do is I push this out from the inside. Don't try and undo the clip, because sometimes they're a real pain in the ass and they don't come off. It's easier to just pop this through from the inside, but hold this so it's nice and tight on the card while you're pushing against it, and then unclip it from this side. I'll do it now and I'll show you what I mean. So there it is. I've just popped the door card off, so it's literally off now, just hanging. I'm holding it. Don't let it hang. When you pop it off, just lift the back end up and slide the door lock out of the hole. And then I've just pushed this through, like I said. I'm just going to hold this with my knee. And now that this is here, it's just a lot easier and less stress on the plastic to just unplug this here, rather than trying to get your hand behind, and sometimes they don't come out. So I'll get this off. Now this is an aftermarket illuminated one, so it came out pretty easily, which is good. But yeah, sometimes they're really stuck in there and you have more trouble trying to get that fucking thing out on the inside than it is to just pop it through and just do it from here, where you can grab it with both hands. And last thing is disconnect this guy. Really easy. This can be really frustrating if you don't know how to do it. There's a bit of a thing that I do. Usually works every time. All you need is a little flathead screwdriver. The smaller you can get it, the better. This one's broken, but still does the job. And all I do, just rest the card down very gently, like so. And there's usually enough cable here. Just set it in the doorway, so in the car, there, lift it up a bit more. And all I do, put the camera on here. I'm looking through the camera to do this, so you just need to get your screwdriver. Oh, hang on. That's better. So it's just that little tab. Where is it? I'm trying to do this through the camera. Here. You don't need to try and push this in or anything. All I do is, you can see this is a plastic cap here. I just put this screwdriver in here. I'll just hold this with my leg. Just wedged it in there like that. And then that plug should just pull straight out. Very gently. There it is. No force or nothing needed. Nothing damaged. Alright, I've just stood the door card up. Make sure you stand them up nice and straight, because you don't want tension on this part, because they just pop off, and once they're cracked or pulled away, they're fucked. And now we're at the factory insulation and the factory speaker. So just got a few little clips to get out. Try not to break these. Well, if you can, if you cut them off, you can actually just run another. See, it's just a little cable tie thing, but it's fitted to the door. You can cut the little clip off and just run a new cable tie through the same plug, which will do the exact same job. But I just try and put my hand up behind and unclip them from the inside. You can usually get them off without damaging anything if you're just a bit gentle. So we'll get all this off and get that speaker out. And one thing I've just noticed is there's missing a foam piece that's usually here. There's a big foam block that sits here behind the door card, and it's not here. So I'd say this has been off before. Maybe for a damaged window regulator, who knows. But yeah, I'll try and find one of those to replace when I put it all back together. I think it's just to help support the door card. Now for the factory speaker, they're held in by these little bolts or screws. They've got like a hex head on them. So if you don't have the special sockets, just use a normal socket. You can get away with this as a 4.5mm, just on a 1/4 inch drive. And that seems to bite them enough to get them out. They're not that tight, so if you didn't even have that, you could probably just use a pair of pliers and grab them and get them out. I've untucked all the foam from everywhere and just unplugged the electric motor for the window. But this little cable tie here is really stuck in the door. These are hard to get out because you can't get up behind it to do anything with. So all I do, because when you pull it out, it's usually damaged and it doesn't really sit in there very well again. You can either cut this and put a new cable tie through it, just trim that plastic bit off. But all I do is just cut through the foam. I mean, most people don't give a shit about the foam, but yeah, I want to reuse this one. This one's actually in really good condition. It's not all rusty around the speaker like they normally are, so pretty good. No rust at all, which is good. They usually rust down the bottom here as well because of this sponge. But yeah, we'll keep going. Cut this and get it off. And this is the exact reason why I've put this job off for so long. I'm a bit of a clean freak. I like to clean things while I'm going. And I knew I wanted to get in and do all of this, so I didn't want to just slap the thing together. So yeah, it's going to take a while. But yeah, no rush. I've got some days off, which is good. So to get this harness out, you're going to have to take the, well, you can pull it through here. You might be able to do that actually. The connection for the nut. Got to get this off to get out the side mirror. It just pops, oops, straight off. And then to remove the side mirror, it's just 3 screws. So take this grommet out. I'm only filming all this because someone might find it helpful. And you've got 1, 2, and 3. And when you take this one out, don't forget to put this back in. So this little piece here is a plastic piece which sits underneath the screw, and it's a little stopper which holds the door card. So the screw that goes into the door card on this side actually screws into this piece of plastic, which is replaceable. So we'll get these 3 screws out, and then we'll look at getting this harness out. We're only taking this out, so we need to, because we need to disconnect that little plug in there for the side mirror. Well, I'm pleasantly surprised because this door is in really good condition. Hopefully the other side's the same. I'm probably not going to film that side, I'll just do this side. That's why I'm trying to put in as much detail as I can. Might help someone out. Alright, we've cleaned that out 2 and 3 times. Wiped it once with a clean rag just to get the dust off. Then sprayed it with some trusty old car wash to get all the residue off, and then dried it with another clean rag. So it's pretty clean in there now. Clean enough to stick some sound deadener to. But before I do that, I think I'm going to take out this harness completely out of the door. It just frees up some space. And yeah, you scratch your arms on a lot of this as well, trying to get in there. And I wanted to tape all of this up anyway, so I'll get that off. And then we'll start getting some sound deadener in there. Okay, now the reason I wanted to get this out, this harness, was to tape it up. But also, I'm going to have to run new speaker wire. Well, I'm running new speaker wire into the doors because I'm not using this factory shit. So you need to get out the, and this is one of the things that I had trouble finding information on when I first got my first B series, so someone might find it helpful. So you just, with these plugs here, they're pretty easy to get out. You just push down on the top, see that inner rubber there? Push down right on that and pull it out. And then you should be able to do the same to the other side, the bottom. And that will just pop out. And this is the trickiest part, which isn't even really that tricky. You've just got to get, all I use is a flathead screwdriver, a decent sized one that fits perfectly into where that clip is, just there, if you can see. And I just push in there and twist, but you just got to be careful that that plug that you're unplugging doesn't fall into the body of the car. Not a problem, but you can fish it out from the inside, but yeah, ideally you don't want it to. So I'll see if I can do this with one hand. So I'm just pushing on that clip and just twist. And there it is, it's already come away. So that's actually undone. So I'll unplug that one. Fucking flies. It's just gonna, oh, camera might be shaky. So that's just unplugged itself. And then push that into the door, which pulls this one out. Being careful not to let that bottom one fall into the body of the car. Again, it doesn't really matter if it does, but yeah, don't want it to. And then I'll do the same thing with my screwdriver with this little one. But I probably will have to put the camera down for that one because I'm going to have to hold it with this hand. So I'll do that. And that's that one. I just pushed on the screwdriver with that one, on the tip with the screwdriver, and that one's come out. So that just slips off. That's it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this whole harness out of the car. Or out of the door, sorry. It's just sitting in there. It wraps up under this window part. So I'll get it out. And that's it, pulled through the door. Just feeds onto, well, in through the inside of this window runner. And it's just rubber, it's just a rubber grommet. So if you run a new cable, all you've got to do is you'll see you just got to pull this rubber back. So I'll put the camera down and do that. So you just unclip the rubber. It's just held on by these little tabs here, these little hooks. They hook into these little holes on the rubber itself to hold it in place. So you slide it back off there, and then if you look where these wires come through here on this side, there's three fairly decent gauge cables there. You've got the same space on this side in that little hole. So that's how you can run some cable through. So you obviously need to fish the cable through there, through this conduited grommet, and then through the other side, and then you've got it running into the car. Now the only thing holding this onto the car now is this little clip. I'm trying my best to not have to cut it. I know I can just cut the clip off and put a new cable tie through. I hate doing that though, but yeah, I might have to. I'll see if I can get it undone one more time, but if not, that's what we'll be doing. All right, pretty happy. I managed to get that off without breaking it. All I did was found a little tiny flathead screwdriver and just unpicked the cable tie. But yeah, what you can do is just cut these off, this bit that's flapping, and you still have the hole there. So you just run a new cable tie through there and out that side, and you can just use it as normal. But I just like to use the original stuff because I'm a little bit queer like that, and that's fine. So that's now out completely. You don't have to go this far obviously, but this is just what I've been doing, just so I can tape all of this up. And that's the whole door harness. There's not much to it. So now that that's out, the door's all clean inside. I'll give it one more wipe just to make sure that it's all dry, and then I'm going to start cutting up some sound deadener and get it in there. I remember last time I used strips of, I think 500mm strips off the roll, and they seem to fit in between this impact bar here and the bottom of the door card nicely. But I will measure again. But yeah, we'll be cutting some strips and getting it in there. Now before I go getting this back into the car, I'm going to wrap some harness tape on it, well, fleece tape. It's just this car builder stuff. Got a couple of rolls of this, so I'm going to wrap this whole thing up, but I'm going to put some new speaker wire in through to this area as well, or in through here, through the grommet into there, and wire that in so it's in with the factory harness. So I'll do that now. Okay, so I've started to run some wire down. So this is where the factory speaker plugs in. So I've just left myself a bit of excess wire there for the new speaker. And I've just ran the cable along the factory loom, just with a couple of bits of tape, insulation tape, up to the grommet. Now I've just pulled the grommet right back off that plastic sleeve, and it just poked literally straight through. Because the grommet's all squashed up, it just came straight through on the other side. Now what you need to do is, I'm trying to do this with one hand. I'll zoom out a bit. Just pull some more wire through, and if you look down in there, you'll see in that little top left corner, that's where you want to feed it. So I'm going to get this one in there and then pull it all through, and then we'll tape up the whole loom. Just like that basically. So it's through there now. I can pull that all the way through and get in all this excess. Alright, we've got it all through. It's fed through the grommet. So now we just got to put those little plugs back in, which I'll do with two hands. And then once I've done that, I'm going to tape this whole loom with this fleece tape, just to make it tidy and to help prevent any possible rattles and vibrations in the door. So we'll do that. Alrighty, that's the loom all taped up, ready to go. Come up pretty good. So that's ready to go in the car now. I can feed that straight into the body. That's there for the new speaker, and it's all in the main loom. I'm just going to put it, so I was going to tape this into this loom, but if I did that, there's no way I'd be able to get this out without cutting this again. So I'm just going to fold it over and put a fresh piece of tape just over the top. So if I ever do need to get this off and run a factory plug again, who knows, things happen. But I don't think I'll be selling this car. I can just pull that one piece of tape off and the plug's right there. So I'll just tape that up, and then we'll look at getting it back in the car. Well, I just measured the door, and luckily I measured it because I was going to cut strips of 500, but it's actually 250. Now from memory the roll was 500 and the strips that I needed are 250, so Not that it would have mattered because I could have cut that in half anyway, but I'm going to cut two strips of 250 from the edge, and then they'll be able to go in the bottom of the door. We'll get those in. Alrighty, back at the door. I've got my 2 sheets. Doing this with one hand. So I'm going to put the nice cut down the bottom. You have to fold this over to get it in. Now this still has the backing on it, the wax paper backing, so it's just to get it in there. Because if you start getting this stuff sticking everywhere, you'll get all shit on the back of it, and then it'll be a fucking nightmare getting it to where you want it to sit. If you look in there, you'll see there's like a frame that goes around this impact bar. You can actually slide I can get my finger under there, so you can actually slide this all the way in underneath that and go all the way to the edge of the door, almost all the way in there. Same down the bottom, you can see there's like a little rebate there. You can get in there. The only thing that is a pain is, see that little black thing there, this here, they're the tabs for the strips on the door. There's a few of them along, but if you push hard enough on this shit, you can almost find where it is, and then just with a little razor blade or screwdriver, just put a hole in it and go around those. Try not to push against them because you'll push your rubber strip off. This one here, that's what they're for. They're locating tabs for that. So don't go pushing them out. Otherwise that'll be bulging from the outside of your car and it'll look hideous. So I'm not going to film sticking this down because I know that can be a bit of a pain. You want to try and keep it as straight as possible so it doesn't get kinked on any corners and stuff. And you want it to slide in where you want it. Same thing goes for this end. You can slide it right in behind there. Sorry about the lighting. And down in the corner. So I'm going to get these 2 sheets in and then go from there. Alright, making progress, pretty happy. Got 2 of those 2 pieces in. You have to cut them a little bit short because you've got these like rubber tabs which hold up behind the impact bar. Unless you wanted to piss fart around and cut around them, you could do those, but I mean if you could, then yeah, do it. I've got it all the way in the bottom there, all the way in there. And the 2 500 sheets, so that's the width of the roll. There's about 50 mil gap up the middle. So I'll cut a strip. I'll probably do the top first and see if I have any offcuts from that, and then fill that gap. Just a 50 mil strip. Well, that's the first one sound deadened. It's taking a bit longer than I was hoping. Had some dinner as well, so. Big difference already. Now I'm just going to stick the foam that I've got, acoustic foam, which I'll find. This stuff. I'm just going to cut a couple of pieces, one on the bottom and one on the top. You can't put one big piece in because you've got that bar across, which is a bit of a pain. But I'll cut a piece right up here and down the bottom. I'll just a nice rectangle. It's just to absorb the sound coming back off the back of the speaker. It's just cheap eBay stuff, so I'm not sure what the quality is going to be like and how sticky it's going to be. But I'll give it a go for the price. I think it was like $13. So yeah, I'll run it and give it a go. All right, got that foam sound insulation in there. Now I doubted the adhesive on that stuff because it was from eBay, but it was no joke. It stuck on really well. I was surprised, very surprised. It's actually turned out really nice, which is good, because I'm pretty fussy. It's hard getting up the top there, so I just had to do what I could. Battery's going flat again, so the flash has gone off. But that's that door done. I've got right up the top around the handle, right into the corner down there. So pretty happy. So now, it's getting late, but I'm still going to tinker. I'm going to get that wiring back in and get that speaker mounted. Now to get it started to put back in, I've just fed a piece of shitty or off-cut piece of speaker wire in through that hole, and just under here there's this foam panel which just sits there. Oh, the fucking flash keeps going off. And there's a little plug that just holds that foam panel in. Take the plug out. It's just a little one of these plastic tree things. Take that out, and you can feel in behind there and fish for that speaker wire. So I've just taped that on to this one and pulled it through. So there it is there, the other end. It's all in there now. And I've just got to push all this back in where it goes. So on this bung, there is an arrow. So that's the top. So just remember that's got to face upwards when you plug it all back in. And just, yeah, when you're pushing all this in, try your best not to push those back into the car. Use a screwdriver or whatever you got to do. You could tie something to them, but if you're gentle enough, you should be right. So I'm going to get all this back in and then get the speaker in. Well, got all the wiring back in, and I'm not going to say that that was easy. It was a pain in the ass, and you have to get your arm in up there and help it go through, but all done. And I've got it all the wiring back in the door where it needs to go roughly. But I ended up having to cut the little thing off, the little tab off the clip there, because the insulation on here has made it a bit thicker than what it was. So all you do is, all I've done is just cut the little tab off, put a new cable tie through there. And then just chop him off. Easy. Well, that's one side done. So all you see in the door is that wire coming out there, and the terminals are on, positive and a negative. Now I'll put the little adapter on. Now I've just got to screw the speaker to that. Well, that's one speaker all buttoned up. I've had to drill 2 holes, one through this hole and one through that one, just into the metal, because the adapter offsets the speaker ring to line up with the original holes. The holes for the speaker aren't lined up with anything, so 2 of them will hit metal, well, are hitting metal, so I've just had to drill those 2 out. So they're all in. All right, now to remove the factory tweeters, all I've done is taken the pillar trim off the pillar. That just pops off. You just got to be very careful because the little grill at the bottom can pop out. And I just get a drill bit. It's probably like a, I don't know, 8 mil, probably 8 mil drill bit, and just drill out the little rivet. So get that there. Just knock the top off. That's all you got to do. And then it can unplug the factory tweeter. And then I'll just drill out this rivet with a little bit smaller drill bit and have an open hole there. Unplug this. And that's the factory tweeter out. And so all I've done for the tweeters, so this is the ALPINE tweeter on the factory bracket. I've used these were in the last car, in the grey car, and never used. They were put in, but I never wired anything up. It was just all a temporary install. That's why I was sort of spewing. I never really got where I wanted with that car, but well, wasn't meant to be. But I've just stuck these onto the factory bracket, so I've just pulled the old, I'm pretty sure there was a screw. Yeah, there's a little screw in the back of the factory tweeter that's in there, and they're glued on as well. So you take the screw out and then you have to try and get a screwdriver in between there and pry them apart. But I've already done that, obviously. And I've just stuck this one on with some double-sided tape. It's really strong stuff that I've used. And used some contact promoter, adhesion promoter under there as well. So these are really on there. They're nice and firm. So they just slot into the factory hole up there. All right, we've got the tweeter in on this side. I just took that trim off and sat it in the factory spot and just drilled out the rest of the rivet that was in there and put a screw in there to hold it. It's in there nice and tight. That's not going anywhere. So we've got a bit of wire here that comes from the tweeter, which obviously needs to go down to the crossover, which I'll wire in with the wire from the speaker, and then we'll run the rest. It's a bit, I pulled it through the door, but we'll run the rest up along here and into the boot to the amp. Now the plan was to also run the microphone for the stereo while this pillar's off, But it's just too late now. I'm going to go inside and call it a night. But look at this. How disgusting. That's the microphone that comes with the stereo that I've bought. That's one thing that I hate about it, is the microphone. I like the normal little ones. But I'll probably tuck this up somewhere where it's out of sight. Maybe even up above there yet. We'll figure that out. That's a job for tomorrow. Pretty happy so far. Got this side done. Tomorrow I'll get that side done, and probably, I'm just thinking as I go, I'll probably get the stereo in and run the RCAs from the stereo to somewhere, and then I'll figure out where I'm going to run them. And then it's just a matter of running it all to the back and finishing up in the back, and then all this in front will be done. So we'll be back out tomorrow and get back into it.